Hello, the wait is finally over. The new championship season beckons. Wrexham back in the English second division for the first time in 43 years. Myself and Nath have done our predictions for the season that lies ahead. Nath, you won last year when we did our League One predictions. Both of us got our Wrexham call wrong and grateful that we did. The championship then, much harder league to predict. I know everyone says anyone can beat anyone, but in the championship, it seems even more apparent. This is going to be very exciting, very unpredictable, but we're still going to try and predict it. We have done our 1 to 24 for each team in the championship next season. We'll try to keep it as short and snappy as possible. Cue a 40-minute video. We will start at the bottom, make our way to the top. Of course, we'll let you know where we think Wrexham will finish as well. And we must note, this is before a ball has been kicked. There could be new signings. There could be early managerial sackings. A lot could change. That's why it is so difficult. But Nave, should we get started with this one then? Should we start with the teams we think will be getting relegated from the Championship at the end of the season?
Yeah, so I think we're in agreement, aren't we? We're not in agreement for many of these, but as you can see, Sheffield Wednesday are bottom of the league for us and for many people that are doing these same videos and for predicting the table. They are in complete disarray. Still no idea on Tuesday when we record this, out on Wednesday. No idea if that game will go ahead on Sunday against Leicester. Players, are awaiting payment. Fans are threatening to not go into the away end so that they have this massive banner. It's a complete mess. Chansiri is running that football club into oblivion. They've lost Danny Roll, the manager. Gassama's gone to Rangers. Josh Windhass has come to us. Michael Smith's gone to Preston. Who else has gone? Malik Wilkes has gone. Valentin's gone to Preston. Loads have left. I think Stuart Armstrong's also gone. Callum Patterson's gone to MK Dons. They've just been absolutely gutted. I take no sort of delight in saying it, but it'd be a miracle if they didn't finish bottom this season.
Yeah. 23rd. I agree with you there, Sheffield Wednesday. 23rd, who have you got there?
I've got Oxford. I've got Oxford United. You've got Preston. I will quickly make the case for Oxford. They have a great manager in Gary Rowett. They have some good players. I just think it's a really, really strong division. And while I like some of the moves they've made, Will Lancashire coming in on loan from Tottenham, I think, fingers crossed, that works for him and for them. I don't know. I just think it's a really tough league. Outside of Sheffield Wednesday, I think it was quite hard to predict who would go down. And I just think Oxford might run out of steam. They just about survived last season, but I've fallen on Oxford.
Running joke is that Preston just finish mid-table. Whatever happens, they start the season well, they finish mid-table. They start the season poorly, they finish mid-table. I think they won one of their last 15 in the Championship last season. Paul Heckingbottom, it just feels to me like they've made, like you said, a couple of smart additions to the level, but just to me feels like time has run out for Preston, that they've just languished in mid-table for so long now that maybe this is the season where they finally go down.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a hard reset might be coming for Preston, right? Like they've made some good signings that, like you say, for the level, but they're not massively inspiring. And I just think they could be one that fall through the trapdoor when you're seeing all three promoted sides. As you can see on the screen, we think all three promoted sides from League One will stay up. So there's got to be a couple of these teams that will join Sheffield Wednesday, we think, in just falling through the trapdoor and being put out of their misery. I think you saw with Birmingham when they dropped out, they were flirting with relegation for years, finally dropped out, obviously had massive investment and then have bounced back and now are going to look to go again. So Preston, could easily. I haven't got Preston going down. The other team I've got is Watford. And I would say that Watford could get promoted or get relegated. And I think I would be equally surprised in both instances. I don't know. They're just a crazy football club. They've made some. I think they got a lad in from Bayern Munich. They got a couple of youngsters in. Just a weird football club where they sat the manager all the time, and Watford roll the dice constantly and keep coming up with double sixes. But I feel like this might be the year where they just don't. They end up rolling too many doubles and they end up going straight to jail. I don't know. I just feel like they're going to run out of steam and go down.
I've got Hull to go down, my last one. Another team who have had some issues off the field this summer. got some really good individual talent there. Looks like Gelhart's back. Ollie McBurney deal going to go through as well. So, there's some real firepower. But you look at what happened last season as well and how they only just survived on the final day. It's very easy to say team who was bad last season could be bad again this season. That's my thinking on Hull City. Similar to you, I think that if they get a good run together and get some momentum, they could finish higher up. And again, what this table doesn't tell you is I expect the points to be close. I think maybe Wednesday will be cut adrift at the bottom, but I don't think it'll be, a gulf between the bottom three and everyone else. I think it'll go down to the final day as well this season, where there'll be 5 or 6 teams who could all be relegated. So for me at the moment, I'm saying Hull City. This could change.
Yeah, look, so the next 5 teams then 21st, 20th, 19th, 18th, 17th. Like I say, points wise, you don't know exactly, but you are considered at that point in that relegation fight. I mean, the Championship's a weird league. You could be 17th and not that far off the playoffs in a weird sort of way. I'll rattle through a couple because we've already spoke about them. I've got Hull finishing 21st, Preston finishing 20th, and Stoke City finishing 19th. Preston, like I say, they'll probably just about survive in my mind, but they're not great. They can't kick on. They've definitely regressed in recent years. Hull, I actually think Hull might be that team that we're sleeping on a little bit. Like if they just can wheel and deal a couple more, they're great with loanees as well. Some of the loanees they've had over the years, particularly under Liam Rossini, they had like Fabio Carvalho, Tyler Morton's been there, Louis Barry went there. I know it didn't quite work out, but they're always pretty savvy in the loan market, so don't rule them out. Yeah, so I feel like in 21st, I'm not super comfortable with that. I think they might actually surprise a few people. Preston, I don't rate. And Stoke, I like Mark Robbins a lot. I think Jamie Donnelly, going from Tottenham, he was at Leyton Orient last season. He played really well in the games against us, I thought. I just think Stoke are a bit of a basket case. Since they've come out the Premier League, I've been there a few times for work as well and interviewed fans and done stories there. They do seem to pump money in, but just seem to continually get it wrong. I mean, Schumacher was there; he's now at Bolton. Not a bad manager, but didn't work out. Mark Robbins, good manager, and so far it's not really working out. So they're an odd one that I feel like are just going to be treading water again through 25, 26.
I think since Stoke got relegated from the Premier League 7 years ago, they've only ever finished between 14th and 18th in the Championship. That's why I've got them at 15th this season. Similar to you, some really good individual talent. Got Sorba Thomas as well, I think is a brilliant sign, obviously from a Welsh perspective. Don't expect him to kick on. The teams I had who are making up those positions just above the relegation zone, we've been over a couple of them. I've got Watford there and I've got Oxford there. Also got Blackburn Rovers. I just think that they were so poor the back end of last season, and they're one of these clubs where if things don't go right straight away, there'll be pressure on the manager. The ownership is already venomous at that club, and it's such a big old historic club that you notice when they're struggling more so than some other teams. So I think Blackburn could get dragged into a relegation battle this season. Pompey as well. I think they did really well to survive last season. In the end, it was quite comfortable. It looked precarious for a long while for them, but I just think they'll be in and around the bottom of the table, could get dragged into a relegation battle. But I like the work Mousinho's done there. I like what they've got for their level. And again, they're such a different example to Wrexham and Birmingham in particular, who just got promoted with a lot of money and momentum. So I expect Pompey to stay up. Watford, like I said, they're in there as well for me. Stoke 15th, Charlton and QPR as well. Two teams I've put towards the bottom mid-table. Charlton, I think that'll be a brilliant season for them. I think that they were really good for the second half of last season in League One. And I'm really impressed with the business that they've done. I think Ethan Galbraith, for example, that was such a smart pickup. A player I think could have gone to a higher level.
He's gone to Swansea, Ethan
Has he?
Galbraith.
Oh,
So Swansea, that's why I've got Swansea quite high. But I tell you who you might be thinking of, Charlie Kelman.
I completely devalued my whole predictions.
Charlie Kelman, Harvey Nibbs and Rob Apter, who all really solid League One players. Like Charlie Kelman did really well on loan at Leyton Orient. I don't know how Orient fans feel about Charlie Kelman going to Charlton, but there we go. Rob Apter, good player at Blackpool. I know some fans there are a bit down on him. Saying
I literally just got Ethan Galbraith mixed up. I was like, who's the guy who was really good for Leyton Orient last season?
There you go, Charlie Kelman. And we, in one of our old videos, I think you even lobbied for him to be a Wrexham target as a striker, given he did so well. Tanto Alafe they got from Stockport, good player, terrorised us in the game at Edgeley Park. Harvey Nibbs, think scored against Wrexham as well in the Reading game when we lost to Reading. So, they did what probably if we didn't have massive backing, I think we would have also done. Just try and get the best talent out of League One, or some of the best talents. Nibs, Kelman, Apter, Alafe, they are that really. And I think Nathan Jones, as much as he likes to play up to the circus and everything, I think that is a solid pick from you. QPR also, I should say, Kwame Poku, Elias Chair. I think they have some nice Karamoko Dembele's there. If anyone doesn't know him or remember him, when he was like, I want to say like 14 or 15 at Celtic, Rich, he was like the hottest like young talent in Europe. He was like this wonder kid at Celtic, and has kind of bounced around the leagues a bit. Went to Blackpool, is now at QPR, and he's just starting to fulfill that big potential now. So he's really interesting. So you can imagine an attack that includes Poku, that includes Chair, that includes Dembele. I'm not surprised some people have got QPR really high. I've even seen some people putting them in the top 6. But yeah, for me, 17th. For you, also 17th. We are not as high on them. I guess, Rich, then if we haven't already done it, 16th to 10th, that kind of middle block of teams that you've had a solid season there.
Maybe is the
16th to 11th, yeah. 16th to 11th, you've had a really solid season there, but you're basically in no man's land as well.
There's 2 I want to talk about here. So I've got, in that order, Charlton, Stoke, Bristol City, West Brom, Borough, and Leicester. The 2 I want to talk about, Bristol City and Leicester City. Bristol City had a fantastic season towards the end. They capitalised the momentum. They got to the playoffs, and then they were a disgrace in the playoffs. They were so lackluster, so poor. They absolutely bombed out of it. Like they were thoroughly comfortably beaten in the playoffs. And I just feel that now the changes they've had at the club, I feel like momentum's gone. I feel like Bristol City had their chance to finally get to the Premier League, and they've missed it. And I think it'll be difficult for them to go again this season. So that's why I'm going quite harsh on them. Bottom half of the table from 6th place last season. And the other one is Leicester City for me. Just in the top half, but I think there's so much uncertainty with the way the clubs are at the moment. I think Marti, is it Cifuentes?
Cifuentes, yeah. Marti Cifuentes.
Appointed. And the points deduction, we still don't know what's going to happen with that, when that might be imposed, what it will be. And yeah, I think Leicester City will have a difficult season rebuilding to get back. And then maybe next season they might be a team who could then be in the promotion mix. But I think Leicester City are going to struggle the most of all the relegated sides.
Interesting, though, just looking at your prediction now on my screen, you've got 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, all with new managers. So I think that's quite interesting as well. When you think Cifuentes, Rob Edwards has gone to Middlesbrough, Ryan Mason doesn't have any managerial experience apart from an interim spell at Tottenham. He's gone in at West Brom, big club there, big expectation. And Bristol City, they obviously lost Liam Manning, new manager there. And Stoke obviously got Robbins, and Charlton have got Nathan Jones. But yeah, 4 of those there that have got new managers. I think that's really interesting. For me, I've got Blackburn in 16th, Derby in 15th, Charlton in 14th, Bristol City 13th, Swansea 12th, and West Brom 11th. 2 I want to pick out. Derby County, they were in a relegation battle last season. John Eustace, very good manager. Blackburn's loss is very much Derby County's gain. I think it's really interesting, the business they've done. Rhian Brewster is a funny player in that he's been at Swansea, he's been at Sheffield United, and he can frustrate in front of goal. But if you get him going, this is a player that was at Liverpool, really top talent. And if you can get him going, I think he's a brilliant signing. And I would back Eustace to do that. That was a free transfer. They've gone and got Patrick Adjumang out of Charlotte FC in MLS. I know a player that Wrexham at least looked at in the January window. So he's really intriguing, because what will he look like? Will he take the league by storm, or will he struggle? That's also really interesting. I think they went and got Andy Weimann as well. So Owen Beck has gone there. We missed out on Owen Beck. They're looking at Bobby Clark from Red Bull Salzburg. They are making some moves. I know I've only put them 15th. That is an improvement on last season. I might be sleeping on Derby a little bit. That might be one of the ones when I look back and go, Derby finishing the playoffs, that was a really bad one from me. But got Derby in 15th. Charlton, I think we've already talked about their business. I think they'll be good. They'll ride the wave of momentum, and I think they're a poorer teams. Swansea's a really interesting one. They've been going for Richard Kone at Wickham. Been rebuffed so far. and they may not be able to up their offer anymore. But they did get Ethan Galbraith, so not Charlie
Called
Kelman
it.
as you
I
confused
predicted
him.
that one.
They did get Ethan Galbraith, and they just Swansea are always stylistically very good to watch, and I just do think they will take a step forward under Sheehan. Um,
Only lost
some
3
of them,
games under
yeah,
Sheehan last season, didn't they? Of his 13.
yeah. I just think they will be solid. But as you can see from what's on the screen right now, I don't think they will be the number one team in Wales. And then lastly, for me, West Brom, they always have good backing. I like Mason as a progressive manager. I think we've seen with Chris Davies going in at Birmingham, just because it's your first big job doesn't always mean it won't work. If you're backed enough and you've got good players at your disposal, people like Ryan Mason can thrive. So I still think 11th would be maybe disappointing for West Brom, but as a first season in proper football management, I think that'd be solid if kind of unspectacular for Ryan Mason. And then you get onto the top 10, Rich. 7th to 10th, missing out on the playoffs though.
Yeah, they are. And there's 2 teams here I want to talk about from my picks anyway. 10th place, we'll get onto this one in detail. Wrexham AFC, first season back in the Championship. I've got Swansea in 9th, similar to you. I just think they're really well run at the moment. I think they've got some really exciting additions into the squad. Burgess as well coming from Ipswich. I think that's a great pickup for them. Derby County, you said you might be sleeping on them. I think they could be one team who just miss out on the playoff. 7th, Millwall does feel like they're the new dark horses as Turkey were at Euro 2020, where everyone backed them because they've got a very good striker, and they were very difficult to beat last season as well. The one I will talk about before I get onto Millwall though is Wrexham. Nath, it's so hard to predict because start of the window was a bit slow. We looked like we were signing players for, dare I say it, consolidation in the Championship. And the last couple of weeks, I think ever since Liberato Cacace arrived, a player from Empoli in Serie A, it's gone up a whole new level. You've got Lewis O'Brien, a player that many Swansea fans think is ready for the Premier League now. You've got Connor Cody, who just looks an excellent, excellent fit. What a model professional he is. I know he struggled in his last 2 roles at Everton and Leicester, but it's such a different case study now at Wrexham. He's in a back 3 that is catered for him, and he will have the pace covered either side with Brunt and Cleworth. He can nurture them. He can be that leader at the back. And we said earlier in the window, if there's one position Wrexham go experienced, it's centre back. And then you've got Kiefer Moore in attack, who, I mean, is there a more Phil Parkinson player? He is the facilitator. There'll be people who point at the goals record and says he doesn't score many, but he's a bloody nuisance. And Wrexham are going to be so difficult to play against next season. They remind me of, I mean, Cody's like a Sean Pearson, Ben Tozer sort of centre back. And then you've got like a Dulux, Ollie Palmer in attack. And that is Kiefer Moore, who's got to be a facilitator for that team. He'll make everyone else click. He'll bring the wing backs into play, hold the ball up for midfielders to make those runs. O'Brien, Rathbone bursting on forward, Windass getting loads of the ball because everyone's attention is on Kiefer Moore. And the other key factor I want to say on Wrexham, Nath, is we mentioned all those new managers, we mentioned all those projects, the teams who love to sack a manager. I think even if Wrexham start poorly, there's not a chance they sack Phil Parkinson in the first 6 months of the season, maybe even the entire season, just because you look at some of the godfathers of football, and this will sound ridiculous, and people will love hearing this. You look at Pep Guardiola, you look at Fergie at United. They ran the entire football club, the footballing side of things. They run it. Phil Parkinson does that, and there's not many managers in the Championship who have that much authority over their football club like Phil Parkinson does at Wrexham. And I think that's a key reason why Wrexham will upset lots of people this season, and they'll be a bloody good football team and really hard to beat.
I'll be 10th in your prediction.
The highest ever finish in Wrexham's history.
Yeah, I have Middlesbrough 10th, Leicester City 9th. I will say quickly on Leicester, they will win a lot of football matches. I think Fatawu at Leicester, if you don't know him, get to know. He could be the standout player in the division. He easily could be in that conversation. I think he's just phenomenal with his pace and his trickery. So he's one to watch. I have Wrexham finishing 8th, 2 places outside the playoffs. Do think they will be really good. I do think they will have the ability to strengthen in January if they need to. If they're in a position where they can go for it, I think they will. I do think it'll take a little bit of time to gel for Wrexham, and the teams I've put above, I just think are a little bit more technically advanced. What I will say about Wrexham is where they lack in quality, I think they make up for they'll be absolute pests. McLean when he plays, Rathbone is an energizer. Moore will be a nightmare to play against. Cody will get stuck in. Max can get in and amongst it, I think, as well. They're there are others in there, even like a Thomason, a Dobson. We have got people that just can get down and dirty with it, and I think that will be what you need in a championship season where it's going to be gritty and it isn't always going to be about super technical football. There'll be games where we just get blown away by players that are better than us. That there will be games where we just come up against Premier League level players, which even with a lot of the signings we've made, I don't think we have loads of like bona fide Premier League caliber starters right now. There are some at the top end of this division, and we don't have those. But I think eighth, from if my prediction turns out to be 100% right, is a stunning season, and from there you can then use that as a springboard to go for it the following season. So don't think we're being too dismissive there. 8th and 10th would be Wrexham's best ever finishes, and would be an outrageously good. Well, I wouldn't say outrageously good. It'd be a good. It'd be a great season, but outrageously good would be getting even higher. But you'll see why we didn't pick them specifically in a minute. And Millwall, I think, like you say, I know you're maybe a little bit. I know you've gone the same as me, but maybe you're a little bit more skeptical about Millwall. I actually think they could be a bona fide playoff team. They just are really well coached. Alex Neil's great at this level, and they are greater than the sum of their parts. They're not flashy, but they're just a solid team. And there's at least one of those in the playoffs every year.
I feel like we've gone a bit too predictable with the teams in the playoff, Nath, because like you said, there is always one team that will upset the apple cart, and it could be a team we've already mentioned. No, God, look, it's probably Sheffield Wednesday who are going to romp away with the league title this season. But top six then. Should we go for the teams in the playoffs? I've got Coventry City, a team who have been the nearly men so often. The FA Cup semi-final, the playoffs, it's been heartbreak for them. They obviously had that game as well in the playoff final, playoff semi-final defeats. They have been so close. Frank Lampard, love him or loathe him, he's a very good manager at championship level. He has proven that, maybe not being able to make the step up at Premier League level, but very talented. Norwich City, I suppose they are, in a way, the dark horses this season. I think they've got a very, very good manager in Manning. I feel like they've done some decent business as well.
Yeah, Rich, I was going to say on Norwich, there's a striker called something Kvitsgarden or something from Brøndby, centre forward from Brøndby, and from all I've got a couple of contacts over there through work, and they big fans of him. And also, if they keep Josh Sargent, Liam Manning dragged Bristol City into the playoffs last year, they'll be solid. Harry Darling as well, really nice pickup for them. And
they've just got a very good
what else they've
anyway
done
as well.
They'll be good. They'll be solid.
The other two, for me anyway, Sheffield United in fourth. I think Sellers, again, Southampton fans might not agree, but I think Sellers is a very good manager. We saw that at Reading last season. Maybe he's had a think since his troubled spell at St Mary's and redefined himself a little bit. And again, their pickups really impressed me. I know that
Louis Barry.
There's been some changes there, but yeah, look at Louis Barry as an arrival. And I think it was about time that they've gone for. I think they're trying to become a bit more modern. I think under Chris Wilder, it was just hard work and a bit more brutality about their style of play. And they had Kiefer Moore, for Christ's sake.
Probably be Wrexham. That'll probably be Wrexham's sort of MO. I think the Chris Wilder type.
I think
football.
That now that they've changed up to Sellers, and maybe there's an argument Wrexham need to adapt to that eventually further down the line. Sort of lots of sports science and the data behind the football. I think they will take time to adapt this season. I don't think it's going to click straight away, but I just think they're a very, very good football team, and they've made
4, 5, 6 were the same. The highest ranked playoff team though, different. I've got Birmingham City. You've got Southampton. Make the case for Southampton not finishing in the top two.
The fact that they've got a new manager, their pre-season wasn't very successful. They're about to lose 5-0 to Wrexham on the opening day, which would be chaos. They're going to lose maybe Tyler Dibbling before deadline day, a few more exits. They haven't bought a big name in. I know maybe that's not their Magnus Optum this summer. They've got 2 signings, both 21 years old. I just feel there's a lot that Southampton need to get right. And the other thing I'd say, why I think Birmingham are in a better position than Southampton, is the mentality. That's a Southampton team that were horrendous in the Premier League, have just had a full calendar year of basically not winning any matches against a Birmingham team who've just smashed the League One points tally. They've then bought some exceptional players in Birmingham City. Like Tommy Doyle is a Premier League midfielder. I think he's absolutely brilliant. You look at Kyogo from Celtic, that is obscene. I just think Birmingham City have a lot more momentum and a better team at the moment than Southampton.
Yeah, I love Birmingham's business. Kyogo, obviously most sort of known for his time at Celtic, but has come in from Rennes, Stade Rennais, I think. So he kind of had a little bit of a spell in France that maybe didn't quite pan out exactly, but he could easily be in the Premier League, I think, and also he could easily be the Golden Boot winner or the best player in the Championship over the course of the season. That wouldn't be a shock to anyone. They've still got Pike. They've still got Iwata. Like they were already built, we thought, as a kind of top six playoff team anyway, and they've gone and strengthened that further with the likes of Doyle. Still got Clara, who was easily the best defender in League One last season. They've gone and got James Beadle, the under 21 England under 21 goalkeeper, and he might even play backup. So still got Stansfield. They've got so many options, and yet they've done away with people like Alfie May and gone, Alfie May, great striker, and gone, no, you're done. Let's get in Kyogo and let's get in some of these others. So they will be a force to be reckoned with again. I've just got them missing out. I do just think to get out of League One, to make all these great signings, it will take a little bit of time to gel. And third is phenomenal. So you know what I mean? Like we are saying that they would need to pull off what Ipswich did, and they might well be able to. We've seen on Built in Birmingham, the documentary this week, how ambitious Tom Brady and Tom Wagner are. So money's not an object. At the time we're recording, they're still trying to get Chuba Akpom, who got I think 23 goals last time he was in the Championship with Middlesbrough. So if they get him, I mean, that's another unbelievable move. Locked in a battle with Ipswich, who they play on Friday night. But that means, Rich, that you can see on screen now our top two. I've got Ipswich finishing second, Southampton first. I'll make my case for Southampton. I hear everything you just said. New manager and Will Still. Dibbling could go. Mateus Fernandes even could go. Like, there's a lot of moving parts that they haven't done incredible business. I just really rate Will Still highly. I know he was in France, what he did, and the Championship is a different level, but tactically, I think he's incredibly astute. I do expect them to spend, and every time, I don't know what it is, they can just shake it off. Every time they get relegated, they come into the Championship and are just a completely different football club, and then they'll go back up and they'll be horrible and they'll come back down. They are an ultimate yo-yo team for me, and I just think they will be more consistent week after week than maybe some teams will have greater highs, better performances. I just think Southampton will be so consistent. And Ipswich, if they don't go up, I think that'd be an absolute travesty with the way they built that squad at the back end of the Premier League. They built it to, I think, to get promoted back out the Championship because they kind of knew they would get relegated. That's just how the Premier League is right now. So yeah, they've lost a lap. They are probably going to lose Amari Hutchinson. They probably, fingers crossed, lose Nathan Broadhead, but they are gonna splash some cash, and they're getting people out of Serie A and Premier League, and they're getting top flight level players, and that should get them over the line.
Yeah, I think Kieran McKenna is a brilliant manager as well, and I know what you're saying about Will Still as well. You only have to go on Twitter to see, the hype around him and those tedious tweets we saw so often when he was in France. But with McKenna, you've got someone who's been there and done that. He's already got 2 promotions in the EFL under his belt. And like you said, that team is ready for it. And I think of the teams who got relegated last season, Ipswich were the ones who looked like they could have survived for the longest, really, didn't they? They did have something about them, and maybe the gulf was just there. That's going to be very difficult for any team to get past it in the years ahead. Hopefully, Wrexham have that challenge themselves in a year's time. But yeah, for me, Ipswich is just the best team with the best manager in the Championship, and put those two things together, and you've got yourself your title winners. But I'm sure we've upset a lot of rival fans. I'm sure people are saying Wrexham are going to finish 24th. What do these nobodies know about? Ethan Galbraith, watch out for him, Charlton fans. He's going to be some player. But yeah, let us know. What do you think of our 1 to 24? Which team do you think will win the league? Who do you think is going to go down? Where will Wrexham finish? And which team has one of us got horribly wrong the most? Let us know in the YouTube comments below. Please leave a like and subscribe if you're new around here as well. Nath, I know we've only just made them. Any teams you're regretting putting where they are already?
Derby. I feel
Yeah.
like Derby. I feel like they're going to do a bit more business. They've got one of the best managers in the Championship, in my opinion, in John Eustace. And when we saw what happened to Birmingham when they got rid of him, right? And yeah, that's one that's almost certainly going to bite me on the backside.
What I love is, and we say it every season, when you look at the sort of pre-season predictions come the end of the season, it seems so obvious at this time, doesn't it, to say, well, they're going to be there. we are going to be horribly wrong on one of them. I think one of those teams we've put in the playoffs could finish lower mid-table. That is the type of league we are walking into. And hey, Wrexham will be top at Christmas. We know that's a fact anyway. Thank you very much for joining in here on Rob, Ryan, Red. Like we said, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Massive thank you to Red 10 People Development for their continued support this season. Wrexham are back in the Championship, and we will be with them every step of the way.
A Wrexham AFC podcast with Nathan Salt and Rich Fay.